Hello, Saints. It's Sister Junebug here. And guess what? We are finally back. We are finally back with a new season of Kingdom Business. Season 2, Episode 1, Stay. I don't even know what that means, stay. In the family deals, it says the synopsis said the family deals with the fallout of Calvin's shocking actions. Danita's parent sees power as she hovers between life and death. And Rebel, feeling lost, returns to her former career. Lord, the devil is busy. Got that stripper going back to stripping instead of doing gospel music? What is going on? So anyway, this episode, it starts with Danita standing alone in the rain. I ain't understand it. I said, oh Lord, in a cemetery with a tear running down her face and a rose in her hand. And she looking down at this casket, right? So she drops the red rose onto the casket and it cracks into a bunch of little white pieces. And it sounds like her voice singing the song in the background. Then it flashes to an ambulance heading towards a hospital. Then flashes back to the cemetery. And Danita looks over at the tombstone and or headstone, whatever y'all call it these days, or whatever. And she sees her name on it. And she looks shocked. And I was like, damn, how is she standing there and she dead? You know? So then it flashes back to the hospital. And she being rushed into surgery as CJ is chasing behind the gurney her mother is on. And the hospital staff is keeping her back and trying to tell her to stop following and saying, and she's like, but I have to go because it's my fault. And I just didn't know why, because her father was the one with the gun. So CJ and Bishop, they in the hospital waiting room when Taj comes running in with Essence and he and CJ hug, and he asking her, what happened? And she said, it's all my fault. And he's like, no, it can't be. What are you saying? Y'all was at church. And he's not understanding at all. And he asked her to explain what exactly happened. So she tells him what their father did and what he said. And how she pushed his arm, to stop him from shooting himself. And the gun went off and shot their mama. And Taj looked at his dad and, you brought a gun to church? And Bishop said, you should have let me die. Then Taj would go over to him and grab his daddy up and yoke him up against the wall and ask, is your life that bad? What is wrong with you? And then Malcolm runs in, that's CJ husband who's a nurse, and he stops Taj saying, this is not the time. And Taj said to his father, if mom doesn't make it, you can forget that you have a son. I was like, oh, Lord. He was so mad. He was so mad. So CJ asked her husband a few questions about her mom. And he answered her saying as best he could. And then said he kind of arranged for them to have a private waiting room where they can be more comfortable and not have to deal with the press when they come around. So they all walk away and leave Bishop sitting there. So at this moment, then Ray, the police chief, he comes into the hospital, sees Bishop sitting alone, and they go outside and talk, and they discuss what he did and said to his congregation. He said to Bishop, why couldn't you just kept your damn mouth shut? Everything was handled. Your secret was safe, and no one had to know. And Bishop said, God knew, and I said, well, he right about that. He sure is right about that. So since Bishop told Sasha that Danny was blackmailing him, he thought, and he found out that she told his father-in-law, Bishop Jeremiah, who's Danita's parents, and he knew that Jeremiah often asked Chief Ray for favors. So he thought that the officers had Danny killed. But he was wrong. According to Chief Ray, he was wrong. He never speak to his daddy and daddy-in-law, Jeremiah. I'm going to call him Jeremiah. So Ray tells Bishop that his officers are going to ask him a few questions and may even take him in for a 48-hour psych evaluation because they think he's crazy, trying to kill himself. He advised him to say very little to the officers and to keep his dead-on theories to himself. And Bishop said, fine, and walked away saying, you got any more advice for me? because I gotta go back in there to my family. And the chief said, maybe the next time you try to kill yourself, you don't F it up. I said, oh, Lord, no, he didn't say that. I said, oh, my God, that was terrible. So then Taj gets a call from Caesar asking about him and Donita. And he tells him the little bit that he knows. And Caesar says, if you need anything, you know I'm here. And Taj said, thanks, and ask for prayers. And then now we have the Detective Parker. She arriving to the hospital to take statements from the Jordans, and she runs into Chief Ray, who tells her that he don't think the bishop is a threat to himself anymore or his family, and that any questions she has for them can wait. He said, don't you think so? And she looked at him and said, okay, of course, Chief. But she was looking kind of funny when she said that, like she don't trust her chief or something. Something ain't right there, y'all. I'm telling Sister June, telling you right now, something ain't right. So Malcolm comes to the waiting room and tells him the bullet struck Anita in the abdomen. And he said it penetrated her stomach and intestinal wall. I said, oh my God, that sounds horrible. I don't even know what that means, but it sounds bad, don't it? But he also told him that the surgeon working on her is one of the best. Then Bishop asked, what about the bullet? And everybody turned and looked at him. And he says, that's a question. This is Malcolm said, that's a question for the surgeon, and suggested that they keep praying. Then Taj's cell phone rings. It's Rebel. He don't answer it, of course, but says he going to the cafeteria. Anybody want anything? And CJ said, well, I'm going to call Grandma and Grandpa. So Essence said, babe, can you get me some fresh fruit? You know, if they have some. And she rubbing her belly and stuff like she's 6-7 months pregnant. I'm like, child, oh Lord, I already know she gonna play this baby stuff up to the end. She only 2-3 weeks. But she playing it up like, ooh, baby, and he's smiling. And I did notice that Taj is doing a little more kissing on her and all kind of stuff, more than he used to do before. I'm like, just because she having your child don't mean all of a sudden you in love with her, got to marry her and all that stuff. Because this ain't making no sense. You about to break up with her. Now all of a sudden it's lubba-dubba-dubba-doo. I don't get it. Somebody put that down in the comment section about it for Sister Junebug, because I'm not understanding. So we have Taj calling Rebel back, and she asks him about himself and his mama and his daddy. And she's like, did he really try to kill himself? Because Caesar told her what happened. And he said, yeah. And he said he seemed to be carrying a lot of guilt about what happened to Danny, her friend Danny. But Rebel didn't kind of like want to talk about it and stuff. And she was like, is there anything I could do? And he's like, you know, he told her, she said, I just want you to know that I'm thinking about you. That's what she said. I think about you and your family. And he said that meant a lot. And he told her that she could pray for him. And he said, I know there's no love lost between you and my mama, but if you can't find yourself to pray for her, please just pray for me. And that was that. And then he said, okay, let me go. And she was like, all right. And then she actually got down on her knees and started to pray. That was a blessing, honey, a blessing. But she looked at that picture of her mama first before she got down there and prayed. So she might be praying for her too. But you know, that's a start. She probably haven't prayed in a long time. So now we have the doctor coming in there, and she tells them, the family, that the damage the bullet did to the stomach and the intestinal wall was minimal, and they was able to repair it. And so Bishop asked, what about the bullet? You know, he keep asking about that bullet. And they said they're going to leave it where it is. And CJ's like, why? And she said that's because it's in a position that it would be a delicate operation. And they don't want to put Danita through any more operations till she fully healed, you know, or heal much more better. You know what I mean? So Taj asked, where is the bullet lodged? And she said, near the spinal cord. And they looked at each other and said, could she possibly be paralyzed? And she told them at this stage, there's no way to determine that. And she also stated that they're focusing more on her brain injury because she had a hematoma something thing in her head or whatever. So they focusing on that. And she got to get a lot of rest, they said. So now we have Rebel showing up to the studio, and Caesar in there with Jewel teaching her something. And this is the first time she's seeing Caesar after not getting baptized. So they had some words back and forth. And he's like, let's get to work. And she's like, I thought my gospel career was done. She said, I told you I'm not good enough. I don't know. He said, yeah, but your contract not done. So I invested a lot of money in you, and I'm going to try to get some of it back. So they was going back and forth, and then the gospel singer Tasha Cobb's coming. Yes, Tasha Cobb gonna do a song with Rebel, and she told her story how when she did a song with who was that lady? She said she did a song with. Oh, it was Nicki Minaj. And Rebel's like, what? You did a song with Nicki Minaj? Because, see, Rebel thinking she the only one had an issue with the whole gospel community. But she don't know when they went secular and all these different groups like Kirk Franklin and them, when they went through heck. They went through heck with the gospel community, with the secular music they call it gospel. So she's surprised. And Tasha told her that Caesar might have picked up the phone, but it was God who sent her here to collaborate with her on this song. So Rebel's like, oh, okay. And then she added how thousands of people had reached out to her who said this was the first time they picked up a gospel album. And that's because she collaborated with somebody who wasn't gospel. So she probably brought some people to Christ and everything, They said this was the first time they felt God, she said. And she added that it hurt. It all hurt coming from the people, her gospel community people. And she said she had to forgive herself for listening to the hypocrites when she should have trusted that she had heard from God to do that collaboration with Nicki Minaj. And now we switch over to the hospital and we find out that Danita's in a coma. So we got to find out what's going to happen. And Essence is putting these little stones and crystals around her bed, and they looking at her like she cray-cray. I was laughing because they was looking at her like, what is she doing? She's like, this is the evil eye to keep the evil eye away. And this is the healing stone. And this is the that. And Taj and CJ just looked at each other and went straight asking the doctor and the nurse what's going on. So now we had Bishop. He's sitting in the church with a Bible in his hand, and he praying and stuff, and Deacon Dwayne comes in. I forgot Dwayne was a deacon. I just kept calling him Dwayne, but he was Deacon Dwayne, and he said that he got Danita and him covered in prayer, that everybody's praying for both of them. It's not just because Danita's in the hospital. It's because they know he going through something. He is going through something. So Dwayne said, I'm here for you to let you know what you did. I hope you know what you did was wrong. And you can't atone your sins by dying. You do it through living, he said. And through living, you find your purpose. So he told him he got to find his purpose. Amen. And then forgive yourself, because Bishop is having a hard time forgiving himself. Oh, Lord. So we back at the studio, and Rebel and Tasha doing their song. Tasha Cobb Leonard, y'all know. They doing their song together. And Caesar's hoping that the people who listen to it will be open to giving Rebel a second chance. You know what I mean? And Jewel feels that they will. And Caesar's like, why? She said, because Rebel is authentic. People love her. And this song was beautiful, too. Jewel told Caesar not to push her because her parents pushed her and she couldn't find her way back to God. So that was a good message, and Caesar was impressed. Okay. He said, who's teaching who here? So after they finished recording, Caesar's asked Rebel how she liked it. She said, and the song was nice and everything, but I still need money to pay some bills. And she said she made more money on the pole, and she might have to go back to doing that. And Caesar's like, don't even joke. She said, who's joking? At least I knew what people wanted, and I made them happy. They went home happy. When the last time I made you happy? And Caesar couldn't say nothing. So Caesar said, you want to make me happy, then do the work, because it takes time. And she said, you ain't listening to me. I don't have time. I got to pay my bills. And she walked out. And as she walked out of the hospital out onto the street, she ran into that police detective. Remember, the chief told her not to ask them the Jordans no question, but that police detective is looking at Rebel now, and she trying to want to ask her question. Rebel like, for what? And then she said, come on, I'll treat you to dinner or something like that. And Rebel was like, it better be a nice place. That's the only way she was going to do it. I said, because see, Rebel need money now, so she could get a daggone meal and take home a doggy bag. You know what I mean? Sister Junebug crazy, right? Anyway, so now back at the hospital, who comes off the elevator to greet their grandchildren and son-in-law? But Danita's parents, played by Loretta Devine and Louis Gossett Jr., and he's in a wheelchair. They got him. I said, Lord Jesus, but who's pushing Louis? I mean, what's his name? Reverend Jeremiah, Bishop Jeremiah. Who pushing him? But Sasha. And she in this leopard print tight dress, fitted all the way down, coming up in there like she going to the club. You know, looking hoochie. You know, and then she gonna run over to the Bishop Calvin and say, oh, how you doing, man? And he like, yeah, get off of me. And everybody looking at her like she cuckoo crazy. I tell you, But I tell you one thing, CJ didn't like her being there, talking about what you doing there. And the grandmama, Loretta Devine, talking about, she was kind enough to help us out, meet us at the airport and everything. I said, she got a scheme going under her. That little Sasha ain't no good. I'm telling y'all, mark my words, she got the devil written all over her little hussy self. So they all start walking away with Loretta Devine. And then the bishop was walking, and Jeremiah stops him and said, let me tell you here, you son of a bee, if I was a younger man, I'd kick your ass. And if my baby girl doesn't recover fully, you're going to be the next person pissing in a bag. I said, oh, Lord. Now, Danita's parents are around her bed. They praying and saying and stuff, and we see that scene. And we hear somebody singing Sweet and Low, Sweet Chariot. And next thing you know, it's Sasha outside singing some song in front of the cameras, in front of the hospital, making just being out there. She just singing her behind off. And Caesar happened to be out there watching and looking too. Everybody recording her, you know. And so when she finished, Caesar walked over to her and tell her she have a beautiful voice. And she said, oh, yeah, Lady Jordan has been begging me to record with them. I said, Lord Jesus, she's such a liar. I mean, pants on fire. So she asked Caesar, did he want to go see Danita? He said, could I? She said, I just got to clear it with her parents. He said, never mind. Let me save you the trouble because they don't like me much. He said, but I look forward to hearing your music someday. And she's like, thank you. Oh, she a liar. Then it goes to the hospital, back in there, the waiting room, and the grandparents is having a family meeting. And, ooh, Miss Loretta Devine, she just excused Essence and said, sweetie, this a family meeting. And I know Essence wanted to say that I'm pregnant or whatever, but she was like, no, I should rephrase that. It's a business family meeting. So she had to go, and Taj said, baby, why don't you just meet me at home, and get some rest. And she walked away with her feelings all hurt. Girl, you's a girlfriend. Just because you pregnant with somebody, baby, don't mean you all up in the family like that. Y'all ain't been dating but, what, 2-3 months? Well, that don't make you make family like that. Girl, she gonna be a mess. I'm telling y'all better watch out for that Essence. She's a piece of work. I bet you that baby she carrying probably ain't even Taj. Ooh, yes, I said it. Sister Junebug said it. I'll bet you. Ooh, anyway. They start this family meeting, and the grandparents are talking like Danita's dead. And CJ and Taj get so pissed at them, they walk out. And the only person left sitting there is Calvin, Bishop Calvin. And he said, I guess the meeting's adjourned. But let me not forget to say that when Loretta Devine, I'm going to call him Grandma and Grandpa. When Grandma said that, Grandpa looked over at her and winked at her, at his wife. And then Taj, when he made his comment to Essence to go home and get some rest and stuff, he tried to kiss her bye, and she turned her head and wouldn't let him kiss her. I said, see what he about to get into it, and he ain't paying attention to the signs. He just going to try to marry that woman for the wrong reason. Just because you pregnant don't mean you're supposed to marry them. What kind of life would that be for a child? And at this moment, Bishop Calvin took this opportunity to address Grandpa about this whole Danny thing, because I told you he thinking that he called on to Chief Ray to kill Danny. And so he addressed it, but the bishop Grandpa let him know the kingdom is bigger than him, and that, in fact, he don't know who did it, but he said, I was willing to sit there and watch you hang yourself. He said, that's what you should have tried. You might have got that right. So now we see Rebel. Rebel going back to the club, Vividi or whatever it is, the strip club, and she trying to get her job back looking for decks and stuff, and some little hoochie strippers was telling her people still ask for her, and she calling her Miss Holy Roller and all these names and stuff. And anyway, Dex was trying to, I think Dex gonna give her a job back anyway, because she done told him that, her gospel career is like, it don't pay no money. It don't pay ish, she said, and she need money to pay her bills. And he like, yeah, okay. He got an opportunity for her, but she need to be all in with it. And she like, just tell me when and where, Oh, well. So now we have a scene where CJ and her husband, Malcolm, who's the nurse, they up there talking. They at the bed, Danita's bed, and they saying that when people in a coma, they could hear you talking to them. So she talking to her mother and saying how sorry she is and all this stuff. And back in the background, you see Sasha. I don't know how Sasha got that close in the back, but she listening. All of a sudden, her nosy ears tuning in, and she can hear everything she's saying. So she goes, when they leave, Sasha go over there and start whispering stuff in Danita's ear like, you should just let go and just go. Follow the light. Follow the light, she told her. I said, ain't this the devil? And she said, don't worry. I'll take care of your husband. I'll take care of Calvin for you real good. And the monitor started going up, beep, 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 or something like that. And the nurse ran over there, this other guy, and he started doing something, told Sasha to get away and start doing something. So Danita heard her. Danita probably was cussing her in her coma. I'm telling you. So now we see Calvin sitting in the hospital had the chapels, and what's her name? CJ coming in and hug him and sit behind him. And then some man get up that was sitting across from him and goes on and say, may I pray for you? And that man started praying for him. Bishop said it'd be okay, and he prayed for him. And I was like, well, who this stranger? And so while I'm thinking that, it switched over to, what's his name? Caesar. Caesar is thinking about his woman and all the love he had for Danita, and he's listening to her singing a song. When his attorney comes in and says she got the injunction that she's filing against the Kingdom Records, and guess who it is? It's the lady from the Oval, Tyler Perry's Oval. She was the press secretary. I forgot what her name was, but she got killed in the elevator by Kyle. Yeah, she's his attorney, and she's insisting that he files it now while this is the best time, while people listening to her music. And he's like, no, she in a coma. I don't think it is a good time. So slow roll it, slow roll it through the system. And she said he just too nice to be. He just such a nice person. But, love is love, ma'am. Love is love. Even though it's been 30 years, he's always had that flame for her. Anywho, we have Taj now at his mother's bed, and he praying and asking her, I know this is a selfish prayer, Lord, but Mom, please stay. And I guess that's the name of the title of the episode, to stay. I didn't know where it was, but that's where it is. He's like, please stay. And so it switched away from him crying, and we see Grandma and Grandpa are putting together Danita's obituary and funeral arrangements and everything. And Calvin coming in and said, look, she said, well, she might go home. He said, she ain't going home now. She said, well, we don't have a say in that, do we? Maybe she don't want to come back. Maybe she get a glimpse of heaven and want to stay. I said, these two is a piece of work. I tell you, they a piece of work. And Bishop said, she still got work to do. Bishop Calvin said, she still got work to do. She ain't going nowhere. Then at that moment, they see Caesar looking in the room, and Grandma and Grandpa don't like him. And they was like, I'll get security. And Calvin said, no, I'll handle it. So Calvin met up with Caesar over by Danita's bed, and he told him to take as much time as he need. He told him that Danita's mother, Darlene, wanted to have him thrown out, and Caesar said, that sounds about right. So Calvin told him to stay. That's another time they said stay. he said to stay. He tired of, he give up on having Jeremiah and Darlene West run his life. They done ruined it for him long enough. So Caesar said, I just want to let you know that my attorney filed a lawsuit against Danita and First Kingdom Records, and, to reclaim what's rightfully hers. And Cal was like, oh, sweet Jesus. And Caesar let him know that this was in the works long before this happened with Danita, and that he asked his attorney to not press it until, Danita is fully recovered. And Calvin said he appreciate that. Ooh, child, and now this part is, we see Taj, I don't know where he is. It looked like, I'm like, is that the hospital? It looked like the hospital got a piano in the chapel or something. All I know is Taj is playing and he's singing a song. And guess who walks in but little old Miss Rebel? So Rebel come in there. He said, you want to help me out? And Rebel sits down and she doesn't know the song, but she's just putting in a little ad-libs ever here and there, behind it. And guess who else come around the corner and peep in there but Essence? I guess she came back to the hospital and she saw them singing together and she started feeling some kind of way. She didn't even go over there and say, hey, babe, or nothing like that. She just watched for about 5 minutes and then she left. And I was like, oh, Lord, she must have said something. But then it ends with, we see Danita's bed, and that same man that was in the chapel who prayed over Bishop Calvin, he came in that bed, put one hand near her stomach where she got shot, and one hand near her head, where they said she had the brain injury. And he prayed over her, and all of a sudden her body jerked, and she grabbed his arm. And he's like, she was holding on to it. And he peeled her fingers off of his arm. And you see her trying to open her eyes. And Danita's like, who are you? And he looks and he kind of smiles and smirked. And he goes, I am your son. What? I was like, who Jesus? Whose son is she? Ooh, we about to find out something dirty. It's something from the past. Don't tell me Sister Danita had gave her child up or something like that, or had abortion or something. I don't know, the spirit of a baby. I don't know, something done happened. But he said he her son, and it went off like that. So I'm sorry this review recap was so long, but I wanted to give y'all all the details because I don't have time to put up no pictures because my cell phone is full of pictures. I don't have a lot of memory and space, but I wanted to give y'all step by step so y'all can see and hear and understand everything as I tell it. And let me tell y'all, for those of you who haven't subscribed to my channel, please take a moment right now and subscribe to June BLC. That's right. Subscribe to this channel and watch the video all the way through. Hallelujah. You might get a good message from the Lord. Anyway, subscribe, like, comment, and share. And Sister Junebug will see you in the next recap review for Kingdom Business. God bless.